Right. Well, the post-mortem report on Constable Subhash Tomar read out earlier this evening by the police says that the constable died of a cardiac arrest caused by injuries to his body by a blunt object. As the Delhi gang rape incident and its aftermath takes front and center stage again, eyewitnesses visible in a photograph of people trying to revive Tomar claim the police fell on his own while chasing protesters. The police have, however, remained firm that Tomar was beaten by protesters and found by police near India Gate and rushed to hospital, where he was critical until he died on Tuesday. As inquiries take place into the lathi charge and tear gassing of protesters, the constable's death has added another layer of controversy to protests that took place in Delhi, demanding better safety for women after a brutal gang rape in a moving bus at 9 p.m. 10 days ago.
कोई चोट नहीं हुआ था, नहीं कुछ भी नहीं हुआ था.
Just one, are you good with English also?
Yeah.
English. I just want to ask you, when you saw this particular gentleman, did you see him falling down in front of your eyes?
Yeah.
You saw him falling down?
Yeah, I saw him falling down in front of me.
But can you also ascertain to us that he had no injuries from any beatings before you saw him falling down? I mean, did you get that sense?
Yeah, he has no injuries, and he just collapsed over there.
You saw him collapse?
Yeah.
And at that time nobody was beating him, nothing?
No.
And
there was no crowd also. Yeah.
Well, in spite of those eyewitness reports, the Delhi police read out a short while ago a part of the post-mortem report on Constable Subhash Tomar that they say confirms their version that he indeed died of the injuries he received by protesters.
परसों जो हमारे कांस्टेबल श्री सुभाष तोमर का देहांत हुआ था, इस एजिटेशन के दौरान उनका चोट लगने से उनकी आज पोस्टमार्टम रिपोर्ट हमको मिली है और उसमें उनके मरने का जो कारण है, जो कॉज ऑफ डेथ है, वो डॉक्टर्स ने बताया, वो मैं आपको सूचित करने के लिए आया हूं यहाँ. डॉक्टर्स ने लिखा है कि मायोकार्डियल इन्फार्क्शन एंड इट्स कॉम्प्लिकेशंस दैट कुड बी प्रेसिपिटेटेड by multiple intermortem injuries to neck and chest produced by blunt force impact.
Well, the girl who, as we said, was gang raped 10 days ago at 9 p.m., around 9 p.m. at night in a moving private bus in the heart of the city, is battling for her life in Delhi's Safdarjung Hospital. Her condition remains extremely critical, according to doctors. My colleague Ketki Angre joining us from Safdarjung Hospital with more. Ketki, what is the update the doctors are giving on her medical condition today?
Well, really, it's been quite hush-hush, Maya. In fact, there was a press conference scheduled for 4:30 that was cancelled. Then it was rescheduled for 6:30, and then even that was cancelled once again. The police presence has significantly increased here at Safdarjung Hospital. Sources have told us that last night, in fact, her condition had worsened. She had some cardiac problem, and because of that, they also had to revive her. Her condition continues to be the same as it was yesterday. No significant improvement. She continues to be critical, but certainly, the police presence has gone up. A number of meetings that the medical superintendent has been in since this afternoon. In fact, he's not even had the time to come out and even talk to people. He's not been taking any calls. So very little information coming out of Safdarjung Hospital. But certainly we were there on the 5th floor, which is where the office of the medical superintendent is there. And initially, while we were being told that there will be some sort of briefing, finally the media was literally evicted from the 5th floor and told that you all can wait downstairs. If there is something at all, we will come and tell you. So very little information coming out of Safdarjung Hospital, but certainly the police presence has gone up. Maya?
Right. Ketki, we've been talking also about the extent of her injuries. The doctors have been continually restraining themselves, talking about the injuries to her intestines, which were indeed removed. There was a significant amount of care that went into the fact that she had the gangrenous intestine after that rape and the attack by the iron rods. Did they ever go into any other details about the other kind of injuries that she has suffered and is trying to recover from?
Well, what the doctors have said even in the past is that there was continuous threat of infection. Now, initially when she was brought in here to Safdarjung Hospital, 4 surgeries had to be conducted immediately because of gangrene and the state the intestines were in. But after that also on Sunday, there was a minor procedure, a minor surgery that they had to perform on her because of infection and fluid that was found in her body, and that was infected. So they were always worried about this possibility of infections and the threat of infections was continuing. Even with the ventilator, when they got her off the ventilator, she was breathing on her own. They had to put her back on the ventilator because the condition deteriorated. And all the while they have maintained that her psychological state of mind is absolutely fine. She's in fact very strong, quite a fighter. But they're saying that physiologically she is very battered, and there is a lot that her body has taken in terms of the impact of what really happened, the brutality, the sheer savagery of what she faced. And in that sense, the doctors say that that was a thread that continues even now. And yesterday, a little more trouble coming in with that cardiac problem that she had faced last night, after which she had to be revived. Maya?
Right, Ketki, we can still see in those images behind you, there are people gathered over there. There are still protesters, people demanding better safety at the hospital in Safdarjung. This is in spite of appeals by the medical staff and doctors to keep the access to the hospital, one of the city's busiest, actually clear. Are there more people there tonight? What are the crowds like there?
In fact, the crowds have been there for many days now, but many of these are not real protesters. Every time the media cameras switch on, that's when they really gather and start shouting slogans. But if you try and ask them what really they're fighting for, they just have a few placards. They're not really talking about what they want in terms of changes. A lot of them very jingoistic slogans, Maya. So really a lot of people here, we have ourselves tried to convince that they shouldn't try and block the entrance to the hospital, because finally it is a hospital. There are ambulances that are going to want to go in and out, and that's something that they shouldn't try and prevent. So as far as protests here are concerned, there is a small space that has been made for people to put up chart papers, for people to leave their flowers, their messages here. But it has been made very clear at Safdarjung Hospital that finally it is a hospital, and that sanctity also must be considered, and people cannot be protesting here. Most protesters have been diverted to Jantar Mantar. The ones that you see here are the ones who have actually not been following that and have been raising very jingoistic slogans here, Maya.
Right, Ketki, thanks very much for joining us. We'll of course stand by to hear from you. We are awaiting a medical bulletin from the doctors at Safdarjung, but in the meanwhile, as Ketki is saying, that there is an appeal from all staff at the hospital to please keep those areas and those accesses to one of the city's busiest hospitals free. So if you are planning to go and show your solidarity in any which way, make it down to Jantar Mantar, stay clear of the hospital. Meanwhile, even as the rape survivor battles for her life in Safdarjung, a controversy over the recording of her statement after the sub-divisional magistrate alleged there was interference by some top policemen there. Shia Dixit has asked for an inquiry. The girl's statement was taken a second time yesterday. Police Commissioner Neeraj Kumar has written to the Home Ministry saying that those charges are absolutely false.
The police commissioner is not an authority to take a decision about the conduct of the SDM. That is all I can say. कि police commissioner is not the authority to take decision about the conduct of the SDM.
लेकिन ऐसा नहीं लगता है कि पूरी राजनीति हो रही है दिल्ली से?
नहीं, कोई राजनीति नहीं है. राजनीति, मेरी रिक्वेस्ट है कि आप इसको राजनीति न बनाएं. राजनीति कोई नहीं हो रही है.
एक लड़का सामने आया कि कांस्टेबल जो है वो मरा नहीं था, गिर गया था.
मैं इन सब चीजों के बारे में कमेंट नहीं कर सकता हूँ, मुझे पता ही नहीं है.
Well, that latest controversy with the sub-divisional magistrate questioning the police's interference during the statement that was taken by the girl has once again opened up what is an old controversy for the Delhi government. They've been demanding for 11 years now control over the city's police, which is under the central government's authority. The former Home Minister and current Finance Minister P. Chidambaram has said there is absolutely no possibility of Delhi police being transferred to the state government.
Should Delhi police really go to the Delhi government? Because, you know, Delhi police has too many power structures. You have the LG, you have the center, you have, you know, law and order is not really in the hands of state government. So Chief Minister Sandeep Dixit, they have all aired their views publicly saying that the policing should be left to the state government. You've dealt with the matter, the subject before. What's your take on this?
As I said, it's not my personal view that matters. It's the collective view of the government that matters. Successive governments have maintained that the responsibility for law and order in the capital city should remain with the central government. That's the practice in most capitals of the world. I'm not saying all, most capitals of the world. Again, as I said, this is not the time to debate those issues.
Right, let's go across to my colleague Vishnu Shom, who's got more on the controversy surrounding Constable Subhash Tomar's death.
Because there are no protesters. There were protesters on the side over there who say that there was no one around him. There was no evidence of him being beaten.
You know, we are going by one picture.
Okay.
This picture could be of the post-incident, where is written in the picture that he was not attacked. I mean, there is no picture in which he was shown attacked. The picture is there when there was no crowd, when he was left alone to fend for himself.
What about the eyewitnesses who say that there was no evidence of of him being attacked?
You know, our approach about the eyewitnesses who have surfaced is absolutely professional. We are not discarding their witness, we are not castigating them. We have an open mind to the investigation, but we also have an open mind to this post-mortem report, which clearly says, and not just these 3 internal injuries, there is a detailed description of 6 external injuries also in this report. Earlier, it was being said that he had no injuries whatsoever, external or internal. So this PM report belies all those allegations. But let me complete this. You know, we are today deeply hurt. Because for A reason or B reason,
the Delhi police is being criticized.
No. We are open to fair criticism. We are open to
So you think that a lot of the criticism is unfair?
let me complete.
I'll just come back. I've got other panelists. We've got time to discuss this, and I will come back to you in a moment. Dr. Singhvi, let me ask you this. Do you believe that given the fact that no footage has emerged as yet of the circumstances in which Constable Tomar was attacked, there is reason to question the post-mortem report, or do we always accept that as the gospel truth?
Vishnu, I'm sorry, but I want to step back from this. I think that's a question which, apart from being irrelevant, I am not competent to answer, nor are we a collective commission of inquiry on your television channel to decide the cause of Mr. Tomar's death. I think a much more serious issue is raised here. And I'll raise some tough questions. I'm going to be a little blunt. My point is that there is a difference between what has happened and looking to the future. What has happened is the most inhuman, unbelievable, barbaric act. And fortunately, within 7 days, 4 people have been arrested. I have no doubt that the fast-track court will be functional within days. And I have also no doubt that barring some extraordinary circumstance, all the 4 will be convicted in less than 6 months, which should be an excellent record for this kind of dastardly act. And I think that is a cause to be at least happy about, that some punishment is meted out. The second part is to look to the future, how to reform the laws, what laws to reform, how to ensure that all aspects of criminal justice move faster, the fault of the courts in not filling up vacancies, etc. Now in both these parts, I find no place for this daily collective lamentation, breast beating and police bashing which is going on. Just consider, Vishnu, you've had this terrible massacre in Newtown in US. You've had the terrorist bomb attacks in London and the Tube. Did any of those countries, as wounded as us, as rightly wounded us in their psyche, react in the manner in which we are reacting? How does it help us to do police bashing every day?
Let me just put that question across.
Just one minute more. I think it's important that we collectively talk constructive specifics. You can say for the future, nothing can bring back or restore status quo ante for that poor girl battling for her life. Equally, nothing can bring back the laughter and joys to the wife of Tomar and the daughter of Tomar, whose photographs I saw today. Who will explain this collateral damage which has occurred to Tomar?
I just want to.
Life is not less precious than any.
Absolutely.
So I
just want to take up on a point that you mentioned.
And the police gets on with their job.
Fair enough. I wanted to put that question across to Yogendra Yadav. Abhishek Singhvi makes the point that let's get out of this mode of bashing the police on a daily basis, not just on TV studios, but on the online world. The Delhi police seems to be the #1 target. Do you believe that that is an entirely correct perspective which Dr. Singhvi has, or do you believe that there are still a lot of unanswered questions for the Delhi police to answer, some of them related to the death of this man?
I might agree with Dr. Singhvi that any one incident should not become the basis for concluding that everything is wrong with police and so on. So like him, I wonder why is it that this one incident has become the basis. But unlike him, I have some speculations why it might be the case. One, it might just be the case that what happened to this woman did not happen just to this woman, that something like this is what a woman goes through in her mind every single day. Every woman of this country, rich or poor, feels unsafe on the streets. That might just be one reason Mr. Singhvi might speculate about. Second is that in this country, unlike many other civilized places, people do not trust police. Women cannot go to a thana. The moment they see someone in Vardi uniform, instead of their trust rising, instead of their confidence going up, it actually might dip down. These are two reasons that might be responsible for the kind of anger that we see coming from one particular incident. And since Dr. Singhvi has taken the liberty of stepping back and talking something big, let me step back and try and see what's happening in the story that the police is trying to put out. Just think of it, and I'm no forensic expert, I'm no legal expert unlike Dr. Singhvi. Here is a case where Delhi police is under attack. Ordinary citizen cannot believe that this is the kind of level police can stoop to. The boss's job is at stake. Police commissioner's job is at stake. They desperately need a pretext. This is when the constable dies, very unfortunate death. And then you have a series of stories. Just run that story yourself, Vishnu, and see, does it sound even half plausible to you?
Okay, what specifically do you believe is implausible?
Say something, Vishnu.
Dr. Singhvi, just one second. Yogendra, what specifically is implausible?
The implausible part is this, that here we have, and I was there on that particular day, although I am not a witness of that particular incident. The implausible part of this is this, that a section of the crowd targets one constable, and that particular area where every single inch was being covered by cameras of every sort. There were hundreds of cameras and videographer. Everything is being recorded. This particular thing happens not to be recorded. All right, this can happen. This is not impossible. The man receives injuries, deep injuries. His ribs are broken. He has deep injuries which later on prove fatal. And after that, instead of sitting down, instead of someone coming to his rescue, this person runs, taking his danda, chases the protesters further, runs a few steps, and this is where he collapses, and this is where others find him. Now the implausible part is A, no camera capturing that particular assault. This is when all photographers were looking for something like this. Second, after receiving these injuries, he runs forward and chases them with more danda, and the photograph clearly shows not a crowd in sight.
Let me just get a reaction
and no one in
on
front
some
of the police to help
points.
him.
All right, first let me just come across to Mr. Luthra first, and Dr. Singhvi, you next. Let the senior police officer answer, since the question has been raised on his force. Go ahead.
I wanted to say, but you interrupted me before going to the break. I'm on duty, so I have to rebut what Mr. Yadav is saying. Number one, where is the picture which shows that he was running with a danda in his hand?
No, but there is no picture of him being assaulted either.
There are two eyewitnesses who are saying it, and we have no reason to disbelieve those two eyewitnesses
You've recorded
as
their
of
statement
now.
as well.
Let me complete.
Yes.
And Mr. Yadav, I did not interrupt you. My request
go
to
ahead,
you,
go
please
ahead.
do not interrupt me when I complete my...
Go ahead.
Second thing is, when a person has 3 ribs broken, can he really run? And how does he break his ribs? It is very clear if you ask a medical doctor, ribs cannot be broken when you hug somebody. Somebody hit him with a very hard, blunt object, maybe an iron rod, maybe a baseball. That's how he broke his ribs. Why are we not considering the medico-legal evidence, the forensic evidence that is before us? And so far as my limited legal knowledge goes, it says that if there is a contradiction between an eyewitness account, though as a professional police officer, I would never discard, never castigate any eyewitness account. We will have a professional approach and we will examine those eyewitnesses. But tell me, my legal wisdom says if there is an eyewitness account and if there is a forensic medical legal piece of paper before us, I think this piece of paper has
okay, let's
more
put that
weightage
across to Justice Ganguly first. From a
You have
legal
asked
standpoint,
me, can I just add one more thing?
Doctor,
I think we are ignoring one crucial bit of evidence from the person who said that these amateurs had tried to give him what is that called resuscitation.
CPR.
These independent, they had given amateurly. In fact, that is clearly recorded in the television interview that these boys and girls who gathered around,
they tried to do it themselves.
And yes, they have said that clearly.
Okay, Yogendra, one moment. Dr. Singhvi, I'll come to you next. I just wanted to bring in Justice Ganguly for a moment to get a legal understanding of this. Justice Ganguly, there is a post-mortem report which the police is presenting. They say that this is the ultimate piece of evidence, but at the same time, there is no one who seems to have directly seen the circumstances in which this man was evidently killed. So in a court of law, how does this play out? Evidence here, but very distinct evidence elsewhere that seems to show that nothing had really happened.
Well, as a student of law, I can say this, that the evidence which is produced on the basis of PM report,
yes,
post-mortem report, is never conclusive. It will be tested in trial. But that stage has not yet come. We are at a stage of investigation. So when at the stage of investigation, this is prima facie evidence. What you have given to me is that the infraction might have been precipitated by multiple ante-mortem injuries to neck and chest produced by blunt force impact. This must have been an impact from outside.
Yes.
This is prima facie.
Yes.
I am not making any comment. This is prima facie. Yes. Now thereafter, this is at the stage of investigation. We should not probe into the matter further. But as a human being, I am telling you, the dastardly incident on the girl is to be condemned in no uncertain terms. But at the same time, what is going on in the name of protest, I do not support it.
Yes.
I cannot.
Because in some of them, the protesters have gotten out of hand. That's what you're trying to say.
Yes, things are, no,
and the
entire city is under siege.
No. Yes.
No. The entire city has come to a halt. I'll tell you my personal experience.
Yes.
This 24th of December in Supreme Court, 3 judges were sworn in. On a request from one of them, I wanted to go there.
Yes.
To attend the swearing ceremony. It took me 20 minutes for La Meridian to reach there. I am telling you, I was present.
Yes.
And the swearing in ceremony had to be deferred because the judges who were to be sworn in could not reach on time. What is happening here?
Yes, people taking the law into their own hands. You raise an important point. We've discussed that.
City.
Dr. Singhvi,
important things.
Sure, Dr. Singhvi, you had a point to make. Go ahead, sir.
At one with the protesters, but what is the way they are doing it?
Sure, Dr. Singhvi.
This is exactly the theme I had started off on. That just see what has happened now. You have now changed the very serious investigation into the girl's inhuman rape, followed by structural fundamental changes in the law and the system, including police reforms, judicial reforms, all of which is desirable, into a debate about protestations, police action in the protestations, the death of Tomar, the post-mortem report.
But sir, what's the problem with that since there's been so much violence?
I'll tell you the problem.
Yes.
The problem is that you have diverted the energies of this very same police force away from policing, away from similar rapes, into managing protestations going on 1 week after the arrests. You have now converted the debate on national television into Tomar's death. Is it serving any useful purpose?
So,
Albina Shakir. One second.
Mr. Singhvi.
Forget the inconvenience. One second.
Yes.
Forget the inconvenience. Yes. Mr. Ganguly, Justice Ganguly had half an hour. All of us have stories. 24th, I had a story of 1 hour to get to Imperial Hotel. But that's a minor thing. The public voice of public participation is much more important.
No, I am talking about the swearing in ceremony.
We are allowing it to be digressed.
You
are getting it digressed.
Was virtually insulted, molested in front of everybody by that guild, super cop.
Yes.
And we went to make a complaint to Mr. S.S. Ray, who was a barrister.
Yes.
And a very supposedly a modern man with good outlook, modern outlook. He said, patch up with him because he's an efficient guy. This is the sensitivity. Now I'll tell you another example. Mr. Jyoti Basu, a left leader, so on and so forth. When he was reported the Bantala incident of murder and rape and atrocities of women, he said it's a commonplace incident.
But sir, in this particular case,
I'll give you another example.
There are lots of examples, sir.
So these,
but
how serious is the government?
In a few days from
I
now.
tell you, government has done it under extreme pressure.
Yes.
But
but they've done it, sir, and shouldn't that be welcome?
But why do you want that all the time? They are not otherwise sensitive.
You see, I'll
tell you just a minute, madam. I am telling. I was connected with the judicial process for about 18 years.
Yes.
Before that, I was a lawyer. I know when these rape cases are being piled up, rape cases are injuncted.
Yes.
The trial and rape cases are injuncted by courts and they are never taken up. We have delivered judgment condemning this process. So in the rape cases, death sentence is not the remedy.
No.
You must have proper investigation. You must have quick fast-track court. You must have sensitized judges.
Yep. Okay.
And at the same time, those who are running the government, the political bosses, they must not say like this is a commonplace thing in what has happened in Calcutta recently.
Yes, the Park Street issue. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, but Albina had a point to make.
Political parties of political chiefs of 3 different parties, same tune.
Sure, go ahead.
I just want to say one short thing, that there are nearly 1 lakh rape cases pending, either investigation or trial in the country today. The government, if it has to announce fast-track courts and announce that all victims are going to get justice within 100 days, within some specific time, yes, the government will have to do something massive, expand the police force, judiciary, everything, but that is what is required today. Those kind of steps are absent. The government is still insisting on what it's doing on this case.
Okay.
Yes, it's important, this case, but there's some...
Okay, we kindly consider one thing. I'll take 1 minute. Kindly consider one thing. Why the resentment has taken such a loud focus? Why? Because they have been waiting. People are waiting. They're at the end of the tether.
Okay.
They have lost faith in
I
the
just
system.
had one final question to you to ask you, sir. In hindsight, Mr. Luthra, did the police miss a political leader on the ground on those 2 days when things got out of control to actually address the crowd? The only people doing that were ACPs.
No, it is completely incorrect. I would tell you the story of Saturday protests. I was there at the Vijay Chowk. There were students, young people, unorganized, without leaders. We took many delegations inside the Home Minister office and he did meet them. He did address their issues. He also announced many measures like constitution of a commission under retired judge.
But in terms of reaching out to the 10,000 people over there.
Let me explain you. Then after doing this, all protesters there were satisfied. They dispersed slowly and by 11 o'clock there was none at Vijay Chowk.
Okay.
Then we were expecting large crowds next day also. We announced through the national television that this is a democratic country. If you want to protest, please come to Ramlila ground because Ramlila ground can accommodate.
Please let me explain.
Let me explain.
No, we know what you did.
No, you are not. You don't know what I'm going to say.
Go ahead.
Please, I'm sorry for these words. Okay, those unorganized people, those young students, of course, they won't know, they won't agree with us. But what were the organized people doing? Why didn't they go to Ramlila ground? Why? And even at India Gate, when the assembly had been or the mob had been declared unlawful assembly, why didn't the leaders present there withdraw? Why didn't this
they persuade?
Why didn't they persuade their supporters?
I think it's a simple matter that assembly was banned. I think it upset people's sensibilities, and people were there peacefully. I want to say as a protester that I equally share your pain on the death of Constable Tomar, but I share anger with all the legitimate protesters who were so upset by the violence that day, because that really delegitimized or damaged the larger cause. So we are very angry on those who did violence.
Okay, Yogendra Yadav, I just wanted to you've been waiting patiently. I just wanted to come across to you at this stage. You know, the point being mentioned over here by Mr. Luthra is that, look, the police were in charge on that occasion. There were occasions for a lot of the protesters to actually get inside the barricades, meet the Home Minister, meet others, and that they didn't necessarily require a political presence at that stage. Do you agree?
It's a strange argument. We expect this spontaneous group of people who have come, and we celebrate their spontaneity, to produce a leadership within 24 hours. Yes, some of them met the Home Minister, but they came back, and if they were so satisfied, why would the protest continue? On the morning of 24th, what was the message of the police? The message of the police was that the entire city is under 144, that metro stations have been closed, and incidentally, we have already created an open jail in Burari. This was the message of the police, which is what
absolutely wrong.
But let's go back. Let's go back to the big picture. Please, I heard all these things on television myself. All this was being done at 8 and 9 in the morning when we were thinking of whether to go or not. You can say absolutely wrong. Let me just go to the big picture. The big picture here is, and you would also probably say that what the magistrate is saying about police pressures is also absolutely wrong. Of course, everyone else is absolutely wrong here. The big picture happens to be that this is an incident which touches people's sense, the larger questions of insecurity of women and all kinds of violence on them. Faced with this, the government wants to isolate only this one case and talk about it. Faced with a larger crisis of legitimacy, the government wants to just focus on minor incidents. Faced with the kind of the kind of criticism that police has got, the police now wants to create a situation and shift the onus back. All this might work for a few hours. All this might convince some people, but this is not going to fool most of the people. We have a situation here of state turning against democracy. This is the larger question that we are looking at.
Dr. Singh, you want to take
and
that on, the state
must be
turning
very
against
serious
democracy
about
by not reaching out enough, despite all of the points that you mentioned of fast-track courts?
I think I want to make 3 or 4 points. I think the entire debate is systemic and structural. It is not limited to this one incident. Number 2, never before in this country has there been so much consciousness about urgent, immediate, structural, remedial future measures for women-related crimes, and I think it is wrong to suggest that there is any incident-specific action being taken only. Number 3, and I genuinely mean this, there are very few people for whom I have as much regard and respect as Yogendra Yadav, especially for his very striking style of speaking and great psephological skills. But I am astonished that on television today he is suggesting, virtually in my hearing, that the Tomar death was a staged death with complicity by the police.
No, I'm sorry, this is not deplorable.
He wants to clarify that. Don't put words in.
Welcome back. There continue to be protests in Delhi for better public safety and justice in the case of the gang rape. The 23-year-old survivor who is still battling for her life in hospital remains critical in Delhi's Safdarjung Hospital. My colleague Alok Pandey joining me for more from Jantar Mantar, which has seen a smattering of protests every evening for the last 10 days, even after the clashes on the weekend. Alok, give us a sense of what's going on at Jantar Mantar. How many people have gathered tonight?
Well, at the moment there aren't too many people. I'm just going to ask my camera person to walk with me. There are basically 2 groups of people here. I think in total they would number about anywhere between 50 to 70 people. But I think, Maya, the important thing again is to remember that all of us here are extremely concerned about the health of this girl, and everyone who's here, no matter what the numbers are, everyone who is here is concerned about the safety of that girl. And every one of us wants that she recovers and she somehow manages to make it through this terrible ordeal, and that's why you have all these people here. You saw these candles over here also. My camera person is giving you those shots. These candles also being lit over here, and many protesters over here, I'd say well-wishers rather than protesters here, still hoping that the girl will make it, hoping that she will actually sail through this, is what they are saying. At the same time, their call for justice, like, as you can hear on your cameras right now, is also very much there. They say that they are still not satisfied with the response of the government towards this tragedy and towards what they have been demanding. And that's why, like I said, you have a smattering of people, not too many people, but whoever is here at the moment says that they are here for a serious cause, and they will continue to come here each day.
Right, Alok, they have the determination to come there each day. There are also controversies around the death of Constable Subhash Tomar, which we have been reporting as well. Another unlikely victim perhaps of these protests. Are the protesters there talking about him at all as well?
Well, a few of them actually are. In fact, on the day that he had died, Maya, we spoke to a lot of the people over here, and they were extremely saddened by that death. They said that there was no reason that Mr. Tomar should have died. They said that it was very unfortunate that perhaps the protests had been taken over by elements, by fringe elements, or by people belonging to different groups, and that is what had caused the violence. They were very saddened by that thing, and they said that it was something that was totally uncalled for and unfortunate. There's been a lot of controversy, of course, and a lot of people here say they don't want to get into that controversy about whether he died due to a beating or whether he died because he collapsed and suffered from a heart attack. They said that in spite of whatever contradictions are going on, the fact that a police constable had to die is something that is very, very unfortunate and something that was totally uncalled for, and there is only regret among all people who are here. There is only regret at that death, nothing else.
Right, Alok, thanks very much for joining us. With all that from Jantar Mantar, we said the protests continue, the anger carries on, and the girl continues to fight for her life, still critical in Delhi's Safdarjung Hospital. Stay tuned, there's lots more news when we come back. Welcome back. Some news from Punjab. Close on the heels of a youth Akali Dal leader shooting down an ASI earlier this month, the Punjab Police Assistant Inspector General was thrashed at a bar in Ludhiana by a group led by a youth Akali leader. The party claims Maninder Pal Singh, a senior vice president, had been expelled from the Akali Dal in May. The officer is nursing a fractured leg now in a private hospital, while the accused is still at large. Punjab's Deputy Chief Minister Sukhbir Singh Badal has said that the accused are not from the Akali Dal. And stay tuned, when we come back, Left, Right and Centre continues to debate the aftermath of the Delhi gang rape incident and the protest. Stay tuned.